Hi, everyone. Welcome to our college resource chats here at St. Mary's. My name is Sarah Gallagher Dvorak, and I'm the Director of Admission here. And I'm joined by my amazing panelists, Kathleen and Kathy, easy to remember. And I'll go ahead and have them introduce themselves. Kathleen, you want to start?
Sure. My name is Kathleen Brown, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid at St. Mary's College.
I'm Kathy Pavanka. I'm a school and college counselor at Cathedral High School in Indianapolis, which also happens to be a Holy Cross school. So we're love our connection to the Southwest schools up north.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for being here. Also, just so everybody knows that's joining us tonight, I'm an alumna of the college. So if you do have any questions kind of related to the experience, we can also address those. But otherwise, yeah, we're here to answer any of your admission related questions, financial aid questions, anything that Kathy can answer from the kind of school counseling perspective, the high school perspective. We're here for you. So let's get those questions flowing in. Feel free to chat them in, and I'm going to go ahead and moderate. The first one is coming in from Alyssa. This one's for you, Kathy. Okay. What would you tell a senior to be thinking about this year as they prepare college applications?
To have some patience and take a deep breath. We're just days away from some of those initial deadlines coming up, and the stress is definitely high because there are a lot of new things and a lot of unknown things. I think utilize your counselors at your high school, utilize your English teachers as you're working on your essays, with a lot of the test optional pieces out there. Those essays, the recommendation letters, are very important, I think, on the college side to give more insight to who the student is. So I think have your group, have your people behind you, and have your team on board. I stayed at school tonight so that kids could come in after school and work on questions that they had for me. So we got a lot done today. So patience, and don't wait until 11:59 on November 1st, November 1st deadlines, or December 1st deadlines, or whatever deadlines you're looking at.
Excellent. Your students are lucky to have you, Kathy. Okay, Ron is asking, Kathleen, this is probably for you. My business has been significantly impacted by COVID this year. How can that be considered or reported on the FAFSA?
Great question. And I think that's a situation we're probably going to be hearing from a lot of different families. When you're completing your daughter's FAFSA, you initially have to report your income from the 2019 year as it actually was. But once you have the FAFSA submitted, you should then contact the financial aid office at all the schools your daughter has been accepted to, and just explain to them that your current situation is not the same as it was in 2019, and you can start a conversation with them about something called a special circumstance appeal. Every financial aid office is used to processing these appeals for change in family circumstances. The process at each school might be a little bit different, so that's the only bad part, is you'll have to contact each school and follow whatever steps that particular school tells you to follow.
Great, thanks, Kathleen. Angela is saying her school is virtual right now. What is the best way to get what I need from my counselor for my applications? Kathy.
Well, hopefully, and we're at a school that is virtual on Monday and live the rest of the week. So I feel very fortunate that the majority of the time I get to see my students, but we do have a number of students that are home virtual. I'm tech savvy, but I still like face-to-face the best. I'm very old school that way. But we have been doing Zoom meetings or Google Meets or whatever your school has in place. Reach out. I think one of the biggest pitfalls for a student right now is not asking questions of their counselor and making sure that things are getting submitted, whether you're on Score or Naviance or they're sending paper via mail these days. I don't know that there's any schools that do that anymore, but ask questions, because I always tell my students that if you don't ask me, I don't know that you're not understanding something, and your silence is telling me that you got it all put together and you know what you're doing. And I'm finding out that once they start asking, they just keep asking and they keep emailing. So email, set up a Zoom if your school's allowing that. Double check anything you have access to. We use Naviance. Our students can check to see what's been submitted, what's been turned in for teacher letters, for counselor letters and transcripts. So be proactive, I think is the best piece of advice right now.
And the other thing I would add is, if there's a question of whether your counselor sent in what you need, always feel free, if it's us at St. Mary's or any school really, feel free to call us, email us, and we can let you know what you need to turn in if you're still unclear about that.
Right.
Never hesitate to reach out to the college.
Right. A lot of times you might turn something in and get an email immediately saying your transcript's missing. We get that every year. It might be that you submitted it 30 minutes ago and the counselor doesn't even know you requested a transcript yet. So just, it doesn't hurt to ask. I don't think anybody on the college side or the high school side minds a student asking. It just means that you care and you're on top of things. I have some students ask the same questions 10 times in a week, and that's okay. I just want them to I want to take stress off their plate, and I want them to feel good about what they're submitting. So
absolutely. Okay, Monica said, I submitted my application about 4 weeks ago, and I was wondering how long does it take to hear back? Great question, Monica. It's now a lot shorter than it was a month ago because we are now finally reading applications. Actually, our first batch of decisions went out this past Friday. So I know it's so exciting. It was a celebration. So we are, I would say at this stage, probably from the point that you complete your application, so you get us all of those different pieces we need to be able to read your application, it's probably from a completed application anywhere from around 2 to 4 weeks that you would hear back. We, as you guys know, if you have submitted an application at this point, we do have a portal now that you can go in, an applicant portal. You can go in and keep track of your application, kind of going back to what Kathy and I were just speaking about. In regards to knowing whether you have a completed application or not. That portal does give you the access to see what you still need to turn in and what we already have received. Again, it can take a couple days to process, but know that that's out there for you. We are now releasing decisions first via mail, and then 6 days after they go out, they will be posted. Those decisions will be posted on your portal as well. So you will be able to go in and look at those decisions that way too. So, and you'll receive an email letting you know the decision has been made. So if your mail is slower, that's another way you'll find out. Maria asked if criminology students get the opportunity to intern. Absolutely, Maria. We have a fantastic criminology program here at St. Mary's, and our students are interning all over the place. Maybe local law enforcement, FBI, in the government, different government agencies. So that's absolutely a possibility for you. Our students often get those internships through the connections they make with our faculty. It's one of the things we're best known for, are those personal connections that you're going to make with your professors. And those, professors are connected literally all over the country in a variety of ways. So that's one way. But then we also have a Career Crossings office here. And that office is really there to help support you, to help connect you with opportunities for internships, ultimately jobs when you're going to graduate. And then the last thing I would say is we have an alumni resource network here as well, where we can electronically connect our students to around 9,000 alums all over the country who are actually in there trying to make these connections to provide opportunities like internships. And so we certainly have alums as well all over the country in sort of that criminology area looking to provide those internships at their organizations. So there's a ton of opportunity there for you. Melissa, Melissa's asking, are you taking into consideration the challenges students have faced due to COVID when making admission decisions? Absolutely. In fact, we've now had 2 weeks of admission committee where we've been looking at these applicants, and probably, I don't know, I would say 40% of them, we're talking about COVID related things when it comes to making these decisions. As many of you know, the Common App does ask that question, so you are able to sort of elaborate a little bit on kind of how COVID has impacted your life, if you feel that that's important to make us aware of. And then we've also had situations where we've seen on transcripts, things are a little bit different, where maybe you were unable to complete a class last semester, or you didn't receive grades, instead you received passes or fails, mostly passes, right? But we're definitely seeing that, and it's coming into play. So we're holistic in our approach to making these decisions, and so we definitely are going to take those pieces into consideration. Ellie's asking, what types of classes should I take to make sure I am prepared for college? Kathy, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, and I always tell my kids that there's two purposes for what you're taking. One, you want to challenge yourself and have the rigor, and you want it to look good for colleges. You want to take highly rigorous classes, but you also want to be prepared when you leave. So it's, students will say, I'm going to take these AP classes because it looks good on my application. I said, yeah, but you're also preparing yourself to walk onto the St. Mary's campus and be prepared for a calculus class or a chemistry class or something like that. So I always tell students we want our students at our school to challenge themselves as much as they can without overwhelming. We're not going to be a blanket. Everybody should take all these APs or all these IBs. My biggest question to students is, can you take those classes at that level and that many and still go to bed by 11 o'clock each night? If you're up till 2 in the morning every night and you're unhealthy and you're stressed, then it might be a little over the top. So find that sweet spot where you're challenging yourself as much as you can. You're getting strong academic classes, but I also know we have, and I have I purposely sat here so you could all see my picture in the back here of my favorite St. Mary's picture, because we have a lot of students that do look at St. Mary's, and but I know that St. Mary's also wants you to take a theater class if you're interested in theater, or a ceramics class, or a business class, and things like that. So I think it's about balance. It's not about going to school and taking the hardest classes and being miserable because you're overwhelmed all the time. It's about that balance and finding your passions. And I know enough girls up at St. Mary's that find their passion and they love it, and they love all the different opportunities they have. And they're not just chemistry and math and English. There's a lot of other things.
Absolutely. One other piece of advice I would add, as I'm thinking about a student the other day, we talked about in our admission committee, is especially for those of you that are joining us tonight who are a little younger, 10th graders or 11th graders, continue to challenge yourself even in your senior year. We definitely don't like to see, and no colleges like to see, students who basically take 1 or 2 academic courses senior year and that's it, that they just sort of decide they're going to, get by in that last year. Don't do that. Continue to challenge yourself, continue to take those academic courses senior year, and that will set you up for greater success when it comes to that discussion in committee.
That's a whole nother pre for me.
Okay, Teresa is asking, I have submitted the FAFSA. How do I research financial aid at St. Mary's? Kathleen.
Thanks for that question. So we have started pulling in FAFSAs for students for next year. So how you could research financial aid at St. Mary's College, I would say if you start with our financial aid website, which you can find at stmarys.edu. On that website, we list the different types of financial aid by category, such as scholarships and grants and student employment. I would say that would be your starting point. And after you've seen the information there, if you have additional questions, you can feel free to contact the financial aid office, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Excellent. I have another FAFSA question. Aaliyah says, does our FAFSA completion affect our admission status? Either of us, I guess, could answer that.
No, but I'll let you expand on it.
Yeah, no, so we actually, Aaliyah, we will make that admission decision first, and then Kathleen's office takes over from that point, and we'll begin to look at the admitted students to go ahead and begin that packaging process from the FAFSA. So it doesn't impact at all. And if what you're asking is, does your sort of need that we get from that financial aid package, does that impact admission? It doesn't either. We are need blind. So just be aware of that. How is Jeannie's asking, how is the college dealing with COVID this semester? How many in-person classes are being held? Jeannie, that's a great question. We've actually had our students on campus all semester successfully. So we're very excited about that. We've really kept our case numbers low here. We do, of course, have some quarantine and isolation spaces for students that have come down with COVID or have been near students that have tested positive. But those cases, we've been incredibly lucky all semester have remained pretty low. So we've been able to successfully go through the semester. We started early, which I think was a really smart call. Started around August 10th. And therefore, we're going to be able to end in the middle of November, which, as we're all hearing, the holiday time frame will probably be really rough. So we're glad we're able to do that. St. Mary's is also, first of all, almost all of our classes are on campus and are happening face-to-face. We do have some classes that are happening virtually, but again, the students are here. And then, they've just been, I think, really smart about the way they've set up. I don't know if you all can see behind Kathleen, outside the window is some really beautiful
there.
And a white. There's some really cool, twinkly lights. We actually have a ton around our campus to sort of accommodate this situation we're in, so we can have places, more spaces for students outdoors where they can socialize and hang out in a safer way. So we've created this beautiful area with all these tables and chairs and sort of places where the students can kind of sit and chat with their friends and lounge in an environment that's really neat to be in. So I love that Kathleen has that beautiful view there.
I would move my camera to show everyone, but I'm afraid I would probably accidentally disconnect or something. But they also have fire pits out there and music going out there tonight. So it sounds like they're having a big party out there.
That's awesome. Yep. The fire pits are so cool. Yeah, there's a lot of, and of course, our students are wearing masks, and I feel like they're generally speaking, they are being smart. And I think we've really handled it well. And then our students are basically going to have a long break now, and we're bringing them back then on February 1st. So, and we anticipate being here for the spring. So we're excited about that. Maggie says, what is campus life? What does campus life look like at St. Mary's? So I'm going to answer that not COVID related, because I think that maybe is a more broad question about just sort of student life here. I think it's fantastic. I don't think there's a better place. I really, St. Mary's is unique in that we have this connection with Notre Dame and Holy Cross College. So we are a part of the tri-campus community here in Notre Dame, Indiana. And we, as a women's college, we're a little bit of a smaller institution, but it's a very empowering, very confidence building place where women can come to become leaders and really, I think, engage in amazing class discussions and grow. I really feel like my experience, because we were a women's college, was absolutely transformative. And there's a ton to do on our campus itself. We also are D3 in sports. But the connection with Notre Dame and Holy Cross kind of opens up even more opportunities for our students. So our students can take classes at either of those institutions. Their students can take classes here. All the clubs and organizations are combined. So, we basically, Notre Dame and St. Mary's, I think Holy Cross might have one. I'm not sure if their students come to ours, but we have club and organization fair at the beginning of the year at both places. So you can kind of go back and forth and find what you want to get involved in. Our students are part of Notre Dame's marching band. We have a shared student newspaper between all three schools. Our students are sitting in the student section at the football games and the basketball games, and they have access to all of that. And I think, the big school across the street has to offer. So as a student at St. Mary's, I really feel like I benefited from certainly the classroom environment as a women's college, and this very just kind of a place that just felt, like an amazing community, but at the same time, you had access to the big school across the street, which was great. So a very engaged, it's a residential campus as well. So students are here, they're here on weekends. Yeah, I loved college. I wish I could go back. Sometimes it's hard to talk about it in my role now, because I think, oh my gosh, can I rewind the clock 20 years and do it all over? Okay, Linda's asking, what are the benefits to early decision and early action? Kathy, do you recommend one over the other?
After I've been in the business 31 years, 16 on the high school side, early decision is a big decision because it is binding. You're making a decision. You're willing to withdraw your other applications if you're admitted. So I know that as a counselor, I do not sign an early decision agreement unless I have talked to parent and student extensively about that, because it is something that the colleges take pretty seriously. I would say most of my students that have done that, either it's just been a school that has been, 100% plus all the time for a long time. They're number one. Sometimes an athlete for a D1 athlete could go early decision. I have some international students that are here at school for 4 years that do have early decision options. But it hasn't been a super large number of students. It's been, very, very contained. And for the right students. It's not, I don't think it should ever be a strategy to say, I want to get in early and be in that they have a higher percentage that get in early decision. Well, stronger students are applying, so it is going to be a higher percentage usually for the early decision. So I never want a student to use it as a ploy to get into a school, specific school. I think early action has so many benefits, from early notification to priority, scholarship, earlier financial aid if you get your paperwork in and that kind of thing. So early action's been probably my favorite of all admission options. Early decision, I like if it's for the right reasons. I don't always know that it's for the right reasons.
And I'll tell you, at St. Mary's, we offer early decision. And what I always tell students is kind of like what Kathy said: if we're your number one, choose it. Because there are benefits to it, at least at St. Mary's there are. So
right.
You do get priority housing here. You get priority class registration if you're ED. But again, like Kathy said, it is a binding decision. So we do expect you're going to pull your applications from other schools. So that's why it is important that you're doing it for the right reasons, and because if you get in, that's where you're going.
And it has evolved over the years with being able to have some of those advantages.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a little bit different now, but yeah, I don't like when students do it for the wrong reasons and then they pull. And then I've got friends at St. Mary's in the admission office, and that's just not a nice thing to do to them. It's a relationship thing. We don't want to mar the relationship.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I would like to add to that, related to the early decision, regular decision question that we sometimes receive in financial aid from families, is students want to know, would their financial aid be different if they applied for admission early decision versus regular decision? And at St. Mary's College, there is no difference in how much aid a student would get depending on how she applies for admission. And even though we don't have early action, if someone has their admission app completed early and they're admitted and they have their FAFSA in early, we send out award letters very quickly, and the majority of our award letters get sent before Christmas.
And I would put a plan for your net price calculator that all colleges have for some of the younger students. If you want to get an idea of where you might fit in terms of financial aid, every school has that net price calculator,
right,
where you can kind of get an early estimate of what it's not an exact science, but it does give you a general idea. So I really love that tool.
Excellent. Rose is asking what factors determine scholarships at St. Mary's. Rose, I can take that quickly. So all students are considered when we're looking at your application for scholarships. So no extra application there. You're automatically considered. And we do look at GPA, test score, and class rank for that. If we don't have a test score, we're test optional, so we don't always have a test score. Or if we don't have class rank, then that whatever it is we have of those three pieces will just be weighed a little bit greater in the calculation. This year, just so you guys know, our scholarships range from $15,000 a year to $30,000 a year. So, and again, we'll automatically consider you, and we let you know in your admit letter if you qualify. Evelyn, what kind of scholarships are available for creative / theater and art? Great question. So what we have outside of, again, those merit-based scholarships that you would qualify for as an admitted student, we do have scholarships in music. So for intended music majors, there are potential scholarships, and those generally are somewhere in the ballpark of $2,000 a year, but they do require you to audition for those. And then the other ones we do have are in the art department, and they require a portfolio, which you actually can submit through the slide room on the application, on the common application. You can submit a portfolio, and then you actually don't need to be an art major, but you can submit that portfolio, and the art department in the spring will consider you for additional money there. And that money, I think, Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's generally like $1,000 or $2,000 as well. Is that correct?
I think it's $2,000 for the art.
Okay.
Yep.
Amy says, I'm nervous about paying for college. What's the best way to figure out how much it will actually cost to attend a school? Kathleen.
Yeah, so that goes back to what Kathy just mentioned a little bit ago. St. Mary's has a resource on our webpage called a net price calculator. And actually, almost every college or university will have this on their webpage. The net price calculator is an online form you go through and you enter information about income and your academic background. And at the end, it gives you a summary telling you how much aid you should receive from all sources. And it also gives you a bottom line estimate of what your final cost would be at St. Mary's College. You can find it on our website a couple ways. One, you could just search for net price calculator. Or if you just go to our main page and scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a link to consumer information. And we have a link to our net price calculator there.
Excellent. Heather says, I submitted an application about 2 months ago and have not heard back. When will that happen? Heather, sorry for your wait. We actually always, we never really start to be able to read each year until around the end of September. That's when that process normally starts. So we did get admission decisions out for the first time last week. We began sending them. So hopefully, as long as you have a completed application, that you've turned in everything we need to make that decision, hopefully you'll hear back here in the next couple of weeks, would be my guess. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our office. We can kind of guide you through, let you know where you are in the process. And if you check your portal, you also should be able to tell if we're in that process of being able to read your decision or if we're still waiting on something. And Janelle, Kathy, you mentioned not asking enough questions. What questions should we be asking our college counselor?
Well, I think that if you're working with your counselor on your applications, questions to ask are, do you have everything you need to write your letter? Our students have a requirement for a specific survey and a resume, and I've met with all of them, so we've all talked through that. What processes are, what are things that are still undone? Have you requested your letters properly for your teachers? Have you requested your transcript properly? I did have a student come in today who said, he emailed me and said, I've got my Common App done. Do you have all my stuff been sent? And I was like, you haven't done any of the processes to request anything yet. So he came in and we walked through it. So I think approaching your counselor, and I know some of you may have very large high schools, we're about 1,050 kids and have about 70 seniors right now. So it's fairly manageable. It could be lower, but it's manageable. Some of you may have a counselor that has 500, but if you go in and say, I want to meet with you and talk through things, or I have questions, they're going to meet with you. They might not come chase you down, but you can chase them down, right? But I think questions about, am I making the right decision on whether to sit my test scores or not? I don't give hard, fast answers to my students. I ask them to check the middle 50%, scores on every school that they're applying and see where they hit in the range that the colleges have typically looked for in the past. Checking to see if specific programs require a test score or specific, more documentation like a slideshow submission for an art program or a music program or an audition or something like that. So just ask questions. I kind of use a checklist to kind of go through, have they checked all their deadlines and submitted all their requests, and have I gone over their Common App with them? The Common App has a wonderful feature, if your counselor hasn't told you about it, that you can invite an advisor to look over your Common App. I have looked at more Common Apps in the last week and found where you're typing things into a box on the activity sheet or the section, and you don't put a period at the end of your sentence, helping them polish it up. So if it's not a counselor, ask a close teacher, friend of, an English teacher, to look over your essays. Just make sure you're kind of going through each piece of it and kind of checking off the box to make sure you've taken care of all your processes.
I feel very lucky to have you here tonight, Kathy. Chock full of information that's super helpful right now. Okay, Marin is asking, after applying to St. Mary's, do you recommend I send any additional information to add to my application as the year progresses? For example, quarter grades or honors earned? Great question, Marin. So what I would say is, if we feel like after reviewing your application, we can't make the decision because we want to see something else, we will ask you for that. We will hold your application until we get 7th semester grades, perhaps, or a written explanation about something. So we will ask you to basically send us in something else before we'll make the decision. If we make that decision, then, if the decision is to admit you, then there's really no need. The only thing I would say is for students who, like, we'll make a decision on on a scholarship based on the information we have at that time. If you end up having an increase in a GPA or a test score that you take a test and that score is really great and you want us to reevaluate your scholarship later, we can do that, but you have to reach out to us and ask us. Otherwise, we won't automatically do that. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth it. If you get denied and you have some new piece of information you want to share, you can always reach out to us to appeal that decision. With the new information, I will tell you that it's fairly rare that we overturn a decision, but it just depends on the information you're sharing with us. So I hope that helps. But certainly, we always welcome, if you want to reach out to us and you have new information about something, feel free to just reach out to your counselor and let them know. Jamie asked what type of financial aid is available. Kathleen, you want to handle that?
Sure. So St. Mary's participates in the main federal aid programs. So by filling out the FAFSA and sending the information to St. Mary's College, you'll be considered for all the federal grants and the federal student loans. Also, if you're an Indiana resident, the FAFSA is your application for your Indiana Frank O'Bannon Award or your 21st Century Scholar application. And then at St. Mary's, besides the federal and the state aid, St. Mary's gives an awful lot of money in the form of grants and scholarships. The admission office will notify the student when she's admitted of what her scholarship award is. And if someone also completes the FAFSA, then the financial aid office will determine how much need-based grant from St. Mary's College the student will have. And the last thing I didn't mention, we also, of course, have student employment. And I would estimate maybe about 50 to 60% of our students end up working at some point during the school year.
And I will say that you guys have one of the best financial aid award letters that I have ever seen. It's very explanatory. I usually have to kind of go through with students and tell them what each thing means. And you guys just nail it every time.
Well, thank you.
Good work, Kathleen. Okay, Caitlin says, does St. Mary's have direct admission for nursing? If so, how do you apply? Great question, Caitlin. So we don't actually have direct admission, which I'm going to be honest with you, I think is pretty smart. And it's mainly because we have so many students, just like a lot of places out there that have direct admission. These students think that's what they want to do. Then they get to St. Mary's, they start in that program or get into wherever, start in that program and realize after a year and a half, it's not what they want to do. And then, then they're in trouble and they're staying longer and paying more money. The way we do it at St. Mary's is you come in as a pre-nursing student. So we're fully aware that you are intending to go into nursing and we get you in those prerequisite courses that you need to ultimately apply into the program. You will apply into the program in the second semester of your sophomore year. And basically what happens is we take 56 students each year into the nursing program. You have to maintain I think it's a 2.5 in sort of your cumulative GPA or a 2.8 in your science-based courses. And if you do, then you can qualify into the nursing program. We've never been in a situation where a student who meets the criteria in terms of GPA hasn't been able to get in, simply because the demand isn't so high that we have to limit that. If we ever did get to a situation where the demand was higher, and let's say we had 75 students who wanted to get into the nursing program, again, has never happened, then we would take the students with the highest GPAs. So that's the way they would look at that. But again, it's never happened. If you qualify based on your grades, then you will get into the program. And then last question, I think we're going to take a very quick break to reintroduce ourselves so everyone remembers who we are. Is the St. Mary's representative from my high school told me that you don't have to declare your major until the end of your sophomore year. Are we still allowed to study our major of interest prior to that? Great question. Yeah, so basically you don't declare a major until second semester of your sophomore year. But depending on your major, there may be prerequisite courses that you need to take in those first, that first year and a half. But even if there aren't prerequisite courses, absolutely, you can take some courses within that major. Like, let's say psychology is the major you're thinking about. Absolutely, your academic advisor who you'll meet with the summer before you begin at St. Mary's, you'll sit down and talk with him or her, and they can put you in an introductory psych course. So just make sure that that is what you want to do. I mean, almost all of our students are taking a class or two in their major in that first year, just to make sure that is what they want to do. Because again, students coming out of high school don't even always know the disciplines and the areas that they have to choose from when it comes to picking those majors. And one of the big benefits of a place like St. Mary's is we give you that opportunity to explore all different disciplines, all different fields, to kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like. So the answer is yes. Uh-oh, Kathleen went away. Oh no. She'll be back, I'm sure. So we're just going to take a quick pause, not because Kathleen's missing, but because we are going to reintroduce ourselves, just to remind you who we are for everybody who came in a little late. And then we're going to go into a lightning round, guys, because we have a lot of questions. So I am Sarah Gallagher-Dvorak. I am the Director of Admission at St. Mary's. I'm also an alumna of the college. Kathleen, welcome back. You're going to introduce yourself.
I'm glad you can see me again. I don't know what happened. My name is Kathleen Brown, and I am the Director of Financial Aid.
And I'm Kathy Pavanka, and I'm a school and college counselor at Cathedral High School in Indianapolis.
Excellent. All right, lightning round, ladies. Let's see how quickly we can get through this. Does St. Mary's offer an honors college program? We don't offer an honors college program, but we like to think that our college as a whole is like an honors college. Would you agree what you know about St. Mary's? Very strong academics, a lot of focus on writing. So no, we actually do not have an honors college at this point. So answers that. Do you have legacy scholarships? And if so, which relationships to the student are allowed? We don't have any specific scholarships for legacy students. No.
However, we have a sibling discount.
Thank you, Kathleen. Yes. You're right. So it's not a scholarship, but Kathleen, can you want to address that real quick?
Yes. So we have something called a sibling discount, that if a family is sending more than one daughter to St. Mary's College who's enrolled at the same time, they both have to be undergraduates full-time at the same time. The younger daughter gets a 10% discount on tuition. No Thank application you. Needed. We automatically find you and give you the award.
Excellent. For early decision, is it rolling or is there a certain time you will find out? Great question. It is rolling. And so now we are beginning weekly. We release our decisions that we've made the week before, and early decision students are prioritized. So we send out the early decisions first and then followed by the regular decisions. So those are rolling at this point. Olivia asked, does St. Mary's take the College Board CSS profile?
We no longer require that application. To apply for financial aid, you just need to submit the FAFSA.
Great. What's the ratio between students and teachers? 10-1. How many clubs activities do you have available for students? So between us and Notre Dame and Holy Cross, we have more than 510. So lots and lots and lots to choose from. I'm currently in a dual enrollment college program at my high school. How does St. Mary's treat or accept dual enrollment classes? So Paige, we do accept dual enrollment. So basically what we'll look at is any courses that you're taking in 11th or 12th grade at the college level, as long as you receive C's or higher in them, we will transfer those into St. Mary's. We have no limit on the number that we'll bring in. We do need, though, your official college transcript to be able to accept that credit. So that's the way that works. My FAFSA says my family can afford one thing. My checking account says another. We hear that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Received our acceptance, but are there other opportunities for scholarships? Congratulations on your acceptance. Kathleen, you want to
So the scholarships at St. Mary's are awarded based on academic merit, and again, they're awarded through the Office of Admissions. So if you have completed a FAFSA and you saw that EFC there, I would say don't let that stress you out. Know that these days, the EFC is really just a way for schools to ration out their funds among the pool of students who apply for financial aid at their school. So I'm glad you submitted the FAFSA, and after you receive the award letter from St. Mary's College, if you think it might not be doable financially for your family, please give the financial aid office a call and we'd be happy to relook at your application and talk to you about your situation.
Excellent. I know these Lego rounds get to me, you guys. They get to me. How many education majors from St. Mary's are hired at schools after graduating college? How successful are your graduates after leaving St. Mary's? I can't tell you the exact number that are getting, jobs right after college, but I can tell you it's incredibly high. Like just about every year, we're around 100% of our students who are graduating in education who are getting teaching jobs. So very, very high. We have it's one of our best programs. We're really well known for that program. So a lot of success there. And just in general, a great deal of success. So most recent stat is the 1 year after students graduated from St. Mary's, 95% of those students are either working full-time or enrolled in graduate school. So it really speaks to the preparation I think we give our students here. Is this school LGBTQ friendly, the plus friendly? Absolutely. We have part of those 510 clubs and organizations I talked about include LGBTQ club on campus as well. Obviously, there's some over at Notre Dame too that would be available for our students. So it's a very inclusive, welcoming community. What is the minimum and maximum amount of scholarship money a student can earn? So our students for this year, in terms of the academic scholarships, we give those out in the admission office, and they range between $15,000 and $30,000 a year. And that, again, is just merit. And then you go through financial aid or the additional aid we'd be able to provide. My daughter was found to have ADHD and dyslexia last year in November of her junior year. She never had an accommodation until late second semester last year and this year for the first time. She is finally finding a better way to manage schoolwork and find success. She is hopeful to attend St. Mary's art program next fall. We are looking for you to expand accommodation/assistance you have available for more neurodiverse students. Okay, I think what you're asking is basically, do we provide assistance for students who have like a neurodiverse situation or a learning disability or other issues like that? And we absolutely do. So we have our Office for Disability Services here on campus. Iris Giamo is the head of that department, and she is absolutely fabulous. I think for a lot of the students that work with her, she is number one, their favorite person on campus. I've heard a lot of amazing things about her. So I would definitely recommend reaching out. If you go online, you can send her an email and find out a little bit more about kind of what we can provide your daughter just based on her specific situation. I would definitely recommend doing that. That's what families are doing, and they, that helps give you kind of a sense that she'll be okay at St. Mary's. So, and we generally, again, I know she hasn't had the accommodations until basically now, but we generally can accommodate students in the ways that they were accommodated in high school. So that's just in general something I would tell you, but I would reach out to her.
And as a parent of a similar student that has the exact same thing, don't wait till August to talk to her. Get it all set up ahead of time, because and once you get it set up, then the daughter runs with it. They don't talk to you anymore because it's the daughter who's an adult, and I have to remember that. But great opportunities on the college side at all the schools, I think. So
absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. She's just so good, and she's perfectly fine even this early in the process speaking with you. So I would definitely reach out. Since COVID has taken place, what will dorm rooms look like? Will there be one person in a room? So that's a great question, Ashlyn. We don't yet know what next year is going to look like. I can tell you this year, we definitely have quite a few singles, and probably more singles than we have historically had at St. Mary's. But we still have students that are in doubles and triples and quads on campus as well. And the way we sort of treat that is the students kind of see themselves as sort of a member of a family, sort of with the students that they're in a room with, and kind of treat it like, you would if you were at home, which you are right now, at home with your mom and dad, and if you have siblings. So, they they basically like are not wearing masks when they're in their room. If in the end one of them would test positive for COVID, then they would have to quarantine because they're all in that family together. And they sort of like even Notre Dame games, they would sit as a member of that family at the Notre Dame games. So that's sort of the way we treat it. We don't have enough space for every single student to have a single. And honestly, students even this year don't want singles. A lot of them want to still be with friends and they want to be in the same room with others. So it's worked out. It's actually worked out quite well for us this year. I don't know what next year will bring. My guess is it'll probably look a little similar to this year, but hopefully by then, there will be a little more normalcy, and we'll have a vaccination and everything else. So we'll have to wait and see. But we'll keep you guys posted. If you're a senior this year, Ashlyn, we'll definitely be keeping you guys posted sort of as we move through the spring into the summer about what the fall looks like. And then Kitty says, how are scholarships determined with or without SAT or ACT scores? Is there a difference if you cannot take these tests? Kitty, absolutely. First of all, we're test optional, so we don't require tests at all. You can apply to St. Mary's and we won't consider test scores. We've been that way for a while now, for a few years. I'm glad we did, especially now, because a lot of our students just haven't been able to take an ACT or SAT. So you can apply without the test scores. When it comes to scholarships, if we don't have a test score, then the GPA will just be weighed heavier in that calculation for the scholarship. Okay, what other questions do we have? Do 21st century students receive a full tuition scholarship? Kathleen?
So good question. So at St. Mary's College, we don't automatically give 21st century scholars, which for those not from Indiana, that is award some Indiana residents are eligible for. At St. Mary's, those students don't automatically get a full tuition paid for by grants and scholarships. But because we do award so much other aid, and because those students oftentimes also have federal grants, even though we don't promise to give full tuition, those students usually do get very, very good financial aid packages from St. Mary's.
Great. Carrie said, I applied a few weeks ago directly through your website. How can I tell if you've received all of my documents and are processing my application? Carrie, after you applied, you should have received an email from us that gave you a link to go into your applicant portal. If you did not get this email, feel free to reach out to us at admission@stmarys.edu and we will get you connected with your portal. But when you enter that portal, you'll be able to see the status of your application. We actually have a checklist that shows the things you need to complete your application. There's a little green check next to the item that you have turned in and that we have, and there would be, if there is anything we're waiting on, there would be a little red X next to it, and that means that we have not received it yet. So hopefully that helps. Again, if you can't find that email, it would have gone out to you soon after you applied, unless you applied like as early August. Then you probably got it more like maybe September, some point in September. So just look for that email and that will take you into your portal. I was unable to attend my daughter's on-site visit. What is the best way to see virtually? Great question, Jeannie. If you go to our website, we'll actually get it up here on the screen for you, but it's stmarys.edu/visit. You can keep track of kind of what offerings we have at that time for visits. We are doing some on-campus visits. We're doing campus tours Monday through Saturday right now, and we're doing presentations on Fridays. So we do have some things happening on campus in terms of on campus. We're not doing informational meetings or that sort of thing just yet. And then we have a ton of virtual options. So we have a student-led campus tour. We have just a self-led tour of campus. If you want to do that on our website, we have meetings with admission counselors. We have presentations with admission counselors. Tons and tons of things, lots of events happening, things like this, these chats. So you can definitely get in there and connect with us from home if that's easiest for you. And then when you're ready, we are here offering some opportunities on campus as well. What's your favorite place on campus? My favorite place on campus is definitely the Avenue. It's like the most, especially this time of year, it is the most beautiful. It's basically the road that leads from sort of the main thoroughfare right by our campus onto campus. And it's beautiful tree-lined avenue. Actually, my family got family pictures there last week, and we took them on the avenue. And my favorite one was like right there with the whole line of the trees. And this time of year, it's so gorgeous. Kathleen, what's your favorite part of campus?
That's a hard one. I was thinking of that when you asked. I would first say in the building we work in, which is Lamont Hall, and the first floor is administrative and the upper floors are residence halls. It's an older building and there are fireplaces, and the fireplaces have been turned on last year and this year. And I just love that walking by. It's so cozy. I don't know what other college could have an actual fire going, a fireplace. But I also like our student center because it is so convenient. Everything is in that one location.
Oh, we got a video. Oh, he's trying to show the avenue, I think.
I think he might be able to show it. I think he's going to try to do it on mute so that we can still hear, but we'll see if it's able to come up. And Kathy, have you been on campus enough to have
several times? My most recent trip was a couple of years ago. All the Holy Cross high schools in this area and east of here do a leadership, and we got to stay at Holy Cross, and we went over and saw the sisters. And I think the Avenue's got to be my favorite, though. That is, and I love Lamont's Hall too. And you talk about COVID and the dorms. Those rooms are huge. I've seen some of the girls' rooms; they're huge.
They are. I lived in Lamont my senior year, and it was like it is. You kind of feel like you're living in a castle. It's kind of cool. What is the placement into the speech pathology? How does the placement into the speech pathology program work? Is it a 5-year program? Lindsay, that program, the speech pathology program here at the undergraduate level, you'll apply into in the second semester of your sophomore year. And I think they have a requirement of like about a 2.85 GPA to get into the speech path program. And you will take some prerequisite courses, of course, leading into that in those first 3 semesters as well. And then we do also offer the master's program here at St. Mary's. So we do have a good number of students who, stay. They'll do the undergraduate part, get their bachelor's degree, and then go into the master's program as well. We have a dual degree program with speech pathology and autism studies as well. That's become really popular for students too. So that could be another option for you at the graduate level. Are there education scholarships for future teachers? We don't offer any specific scholarships for the education majors. I don't know, Kathleen, if there's nothing for students when they're actually here, correct?
So there is a federal program called the Teach Grant that a student could apply for. The student has to have been admitted to the education program, which, like Sarah said, that usually happens either for education, I think during or right after the sophomore year. But that is a federal program, and it would give a student a few extra thousand each year their education major, although they have to commit to actually teaching a certain number of years after graduation.
Excellent.
Also, for anybody that's from Indiana, there's the Next Gen Teacher
Scholarship. That's right.
State, which is about 7,500, I think.
Yes.
That's a great program.
It is.
Excellent, thank you. How is mental health accommodated on campus? Can students speak with mental health counselors for free whenever they choose? Great question. We actually have a brand, well, it's a couple of years old now, new facility, which is where our health and counseling center is here on campus. It's absolutely beautiful. But we do a really great job. We've got counselors in there where you can make appointments, of course, face-to-face appointments with those counselors. They're probably doing some virtual appointments now as well due to COVID. And, we have doctors on campus, nurses on campus, that sort of thing. We also, though, just implemented a brand new program, which is basically where we provide mental health counseling for students 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's like a kind of a hotline, I guess you call, and can speak with a counselor that way, and that is free. So I think we've done over this last 3-4 months, taken some really great steps to help accommodate our students who are struggling a little bit with their mental health. Early decision is rolling. What is the application date for regular decision? Great question. So early decision app deadline, just so you know, is November 15th. Regular decision application deadline is February 15th. So for you guys applying regular decision, you've got a little extra time there for sure. For early decision, you would have to commit to us by January 15th, and then the regular decision students, May 1st. If I am undeclared / undecided in terms of a major, what guidance is provided during my first year or two to help me determine a major? I love it. We actually love students like you because, again, we really sort of value that period of time where you get to explore and kind of learn about new things and discover new disciplines out there and passions that you didn't even know you had. And so you've got that time to figure it out. We have, not only through our advising team, we've got some really fantastic advisors that have been working with students for years, and they know all of our majors and all of the, options for students academically on campus, and they'll help you in a lot of ways. But we also have our Career Crossings office. They don't just help students when it comes to securing an internship or a job after college. They also help our students, especially those that are first coming in, that are undecided, they just don't know, sort of help you explore sort of your areas of interest, your strengths. They do like those kind of fun tests on you to kind of see what strengths you have and areas that might be a solid areas for you that you might really do well in and you might find a passion for. And so they really work with students on sort of helping you explore our majors and figuring out what's going to work best for you. A lot of our students I've talked to, like, that's how they've discovered their majors, was through sort of this exploration process with Career Crossings. So that's something that literally on your first day when you come to St. Mary's, you can set up an appointment with them and go work with them.
That's definitely a nice addition, because in high school we do that a little bit, but we don't. So we have so many different jobs that I just got my Myers-Briggs certification this summer. And I have yet to have time to dig into it as deep as I want to. So those that I know for my daughter at Career Center at a college has been awesome. You guys have an awesome one. And I hope more kids use that than I think might use it. So it is a great resource.
It is. Yep. What is the best way to research scholarships outside of what each college is offering? Kathleen?
So on the financial aid web page of St. Mary's College, we do have a link to some outside scholarship opportunities that we've learned about over the years. So you could search there. And Kathy, I'm interested to hear what you say about this, but I often recommend that students talk to their high school counselors, because usually high schools have award ceremonies in the spring, so they know where their students have received scholarships in the past. And while there are a lot of free scholarship searches on the internet, if you find a scholarship that way, because it's on the internet, probably a lot of people are going to be applying. So you usually have better luck with your local scholarships that might not be as advertised as well, but ones you hear about through word of mouth.
Right. And I actually am the scholarship coordinator, so good question. We promote the websites like FastWeb, Scholarship Experts, Going Merry, those. I always tell students to take that with a grain of salt. There's some out there that are very legitimate and some that just want your email so that they can send you, might be a bank or something that want to get your name to promote their student loans or whatever. But we also, every school is going to be a little different. Some of your schools might have their own webpage where they promote them. We put ours in Naviance because that's what we use. But a lot of those local, regional type things are the ones that we list. And those are the ones that don't have the, 5,000 kids applying for them across the country. Also the community foundations in your areas. I know in Indiana, every county has a community foundation, and there's different scholarships that are attributed to different majors or different high schools or different donors, things like that. So definitely look into the community. That's where the Lilly Scholarship comes from, those kinds of things. So I would say definitely go see your counselor. We always tell the students, we won't do the searches for you, but we will give you the tools to be able to do the searches. So we give them the toolbox.
So ladies, we have about 2 minutes left, so we're going to have to get through these very quickly, and hopefully maybe Stephanie might be able to sort of private chat a couple of answers to questions. Everybody on the chat, if your question doesn't get answered, please send us an email at admission@stmarys.edu and we will get you an answer. You offer a Doctor of Nursing program? Yes, check it out online. Do you have any tips to make my application stand out? If you're younger and you still have time, definitely, again, challenge yourself in those courses. Work with your counseling office on suggestions for this as well. Take that essay seriously and actually have it edited and looked at. Yeah, and I think that just sort of reaching out to your admission counselor is always a really good thing too, because the more you know them, they're going to come and they're going to want to really kind of fight for you in admission committee and stand up for you, and they know more about you, as a young woman with a heart and a mind, and that's the way we look at it. The more they can talk about you in that way, we're going to have a better understanding of who you are. So it never hurts to reach out to your admission counselor, get to know him or her, ask questions. Believe me, that will make you stand out.
That's advice.
Oh, sorry, Kathy, what was that?
That's one of our biggest pieces of advice. That's the person that's going to advocate for you, and they want to get to, especially at schools like St. Mary's. It's if you don't reach out and get to know that person, it's so easy to do.
Absolutely. Yep. If we have extra questions, can we just contact the admission counselor? Yes. Once we turn in our application, yes, you can find your counselor online, send them a quick email, give them a call. They love talking to their students, so do that. Does when you submit your application affect financial aid? Kathleen, you want to quickly answer that?
Sure. As long as you get your FAFSA submitted by March 1st of 2021, no, when you submit your FAFSA will not impact your financial aid.
Excellent. Last question. I just received my acceptance letter in the mail this week, and I'm so excited to attend St. Mary's. What do I need to do to make my decision to become official? Yay! First of all, congratulations. Really excited for you, Angela. So basically, if you go to our next steps page on our website, if you go to stmarys.edu and then just search for, go to admission, the admission website, and then go to admitted students, you'll be able to sort of see the next steps there. There is a link to go in to pay your enrollment deposit, and that does secure your spot in the class. So that is sort of the first step. And then starting in December, you'll start to hear from the housing office, where you will be able to really begin your kind of housing process and the housing application. You'll be able to set up St. Mary's email in December, and that really kicks off a lot of things. So I can tell you, if you commit to the class pretty soon, you're going to have a pretty good selection for housing, because you'll be one of the first. So that will be great. Congratulations. Stay in touch with us. We're here for you, definitely. All right, you guys. I can't believe that was an hour, you guys. Can you believe it went by that fast?
That went fast.
Crazy. I do want to thank both you, Kathy and Kathleen, for joining us tonight. Thank you all for being part of our live chat tonight. We'll be doing more of these throughout the year, so just stay in touch with us online, stmarys.edu/visit. We're here for you. Never hesitate to reach out to ask us questions. Same with Kathleen's office. The financial aid office is there for you guys as well. We wish you all the best, and enjoy your Halloween this weekend. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you.